Okay, today we're talking about a humidifier drain water recirculation system with a UV sterilizer. So whether you have a bypass humidifier like this, or a fan-powered humidifier like this, you too can install a drain water recirculation system like this at a common, readily available parts. So how does it work? It's basically a 5-gallon bucket that sits near your furnace and your humidifier. And basically, instead of having the drain water from your humidifier drain straight into the floor drain, you simply divert that drain water into this 5-gallon bucket. And there's a small sump pump inside the 5-gallon bucket that pumps that drain water back up to the humidifier distribution tray. And then whatever water doesn't get used in the humidifier trickles back down, and the process repeats itself over and over again. So let's look at the major components that make up the drain water recirculation system. Again, a 5-gallon bucket that sits on a simple little platform. You have your sump pump. In this case, it's a 120 volt or 115 volt AC sump pump. This one only draws half an amp. It has a flow rate of 210 gallons per hour. And the max lift on this is 7 feet. So if you have more than 7 feet from the pump to the top of your humidifier, you may want to install this bucket up higher so you're within that 7-foot range. It has a 5-watt, 120 volt UV sterilizer that you can leave plugged in throughout the entire heating season that you're going to be using your humidifier. That way that bucket of water is always being sterilized. Woo! It has a relay that controls the on and off functionality of the pump. You can see the part number here. It has 120. It's rated at 120 volts AC, 10 amps, single pole double throw relay, and the coil voltage can be 24 volts AC or 120 volts AC, as you see here in the specs. And then the float valve. Here's a Granger part number. It has 1/2-inch Mayo National pipe thread connections, and it's adjustable. The float itself can be adjusted. And the float is what shuts off the water and maintains the water level in your bucket, so your humidifier never runs out of water. And then, of course, there's a breather vent here on this T, and the breather vent just allows the pump to function normally, so you don't have a bunch of vacuum inside the bucket, and allows water to drain in and out of the bucket normally. And on this T, it's also an overflow line. So you can see on the other side of the T, the overflow line drains down to the floor drain. So in the event the bucket filled up with too much water for some reason, it wouldn't make a big mess. It would simply flow out your overflow line down your floor drain. Quick disclaimer, this video is not a paid promotion for any product or supplier you see listed in the video. This video is for informational and educational purposes only. And looking closer from the top view, you can see we use bulkhead fittings. So you drill a hole in the side of your bucket. These bulkhead fittings provide a watertight connection point for your breather, your drain line, and then, of course, the ball valve at the bottom of the bucket that you use to drain the water out of the entire bucket at the end of the heating humidification season. That way the bucket's not sitting full of standing water until the next heating humidification season. And on the top of the bucket, you see where the UV power wire comes into the bucket and the pump power cable comes into the bucket. We used a cord strain relief. These parts are readily available on Amazon, your local supply house, Granger, McMaster Carr, Zorro.com, supplyhouse.com, etc. Again, you can see a better view there of those strain reliefs. And here at the top on the discharge line coming off of the pump going up to the humidifier, you see this other ball valve. That simply acts as a throttling valve. So if you need to slow down the flow of water going to your humidifier, this ball valve can do that for you. So how do you control the on and off functionality of the pump? Well, with a simple pump control made out of a 4x4 J box with a blank cover plate. And you can see the strain reliefs on the box. And you see our relay that's attached to the top of the box at one of the 1/2-inch knockouts. So again, common, simple, readily available parts. And the power cord should be plugged into a GFCI receptacle. And it can be as long or as short as you need. And the pump control box itself could be mounted to the side of your furnace or mounted to the wall, depending on your specific situation. And then inside that pump control box, we'll go over how this is wired specifically. So here's a simple wiring diagram. Now, different makes and models of humidifiers have slightly different wiring. So this is a sort of a generic representation. But usually you'll have 24-volt wires that connect to your solenoid valve. Well, with this water recirculation system, that solenoid valve is going to be disconnected. The water line is going to be disconnected to it because remember, your pump now is supplying water to your humidifier. But you're still going to use that 24-volt AC hot wire and a 24-volt AC common wire to energize the coil on your relay. When you energize your relay, the little red LED light will turn on, and you see you have 120-volt AC hot coming in, connected to the yellow wire. So again, when you energize that coil on the relay, it's going to send that 120 volts out through the orange wire to your pump. Your pump's going to turn on, circulate the water. Now, the nice thing about this relay is, again, remember, according to the wiring schematic on the relay, it can be 24 volts or 120 volts. So if your humidifier doesn't have a 24-volt solenoid and has a 120-volt AC solenoid, then again, you just simply follow the wiring diagram on the relay to hook up the correct wires. And then whatever wires are not applicable to your situation, you simply cap off with a wire nut. So really the only modification, if you will, that we're making to your humidifier is we're disconnecting and no longer using the solenoid valve, but we're still using the 24-volt hot leg and common leg to energize the coil on our relay. And you can see the 120-volt AC pump wiring is fairly simple. You got your green ground wires. Remember, the third green ground wire needs to connect to that metal 4x4 box. And then you have your white neutral wire coming in. That gets wire nutted to the white neutral wire with the pump. So what is the value add of a drain water recirculation system? Well, you're going to reduce your fresh water consumption. You're not just going to be wasting water and money down the drain anymore. And you're going to save money on your water bill, obviously. Because instead of just dumping water you don't use, when your humidifier is running down the drain, having to pay for fresh water to feed your humidifier, you're now recirculating that drain water that wasn't used, and you're improving your indoor air quality because majority of humidifiers do not have any kind of UV sterilizer, right? So if there's any bacteria in that humidified air, you're going to be breathing that in. Whereas with this drain water recirculation system, with that UV sterilizer being turned on at all times in that bucket, we're killing any bacteria. So what about maintenance? Well, like I said, at the end of heating and humidification season, you want to make sure you drain the water out of the bucket, unplug the pump controller, and unplug the UV sterilizer, and change that inline water filter so you're good to go for the next heating and humidification season. And of course, remember to turn off that water supply valve too. Let me know in the comments below if you found this video helpful. And now I would like to tell you about a practical facilities maintenance handbook available now in ebook and paperback format. It has common facilities documents, signage, tags, resource and training material, as well as common shop equipment drawings that you can use to fabricate shop equipment for your facility. The link for this book is in the video description below. Or if you need shirts, hats, mugs, or weather-resistant stickers for your facility, there is a link in the video description below. where you can access this online facilities maintenance store to purchase the products you see here. Please like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment, and thanks for watching.